We're finding a lot of this property here contaminated
Oh, are you really?
with lead. Look, that's a battery chip.
Was there a gas station here at one point?
No, it was a lead smelter that here operated for about almost 60 years. And they dumped this all over the neighborhood. So you don't know when you're getting it. If you are,
That's why you can't sell it.
Yeah, that's why you shouldn't buy it.
Contaminated.
Also,
Well, I mean, it can be cleaned up.
As a community leader for many decades, I felt it was very, very important to first be informed of what the issues were and work in concert with Mr. Sepulveda to, as the central spokesperson and the central catalyst, for bringing about change.
they came in, somebody needed a driveway, and they say, I'll give you $15 to bring me a truckload. And they brought it here, not knowing that this was highly lead contaminated.
Relevant to the environmental racism is that these type of facilities are placed in minority-oriented neighborhoods and also where poorer whites live. So the majority community in the northern end is much different than the majority community on the southern end.
Also,
Who was supposed to be in charge of the EPA?
EPA.
They claimed that it was
it was cleaned up.
Really?
I reported to them, they said they're not going back to West Dallas to do any cleanup. I said, how about the kids that are playing with it? It's a closed case, we're not going back.
I think it's wrong morally when you come in and have a plan where it's either, all development and totally disrespect for the residents there, for the women, and that many are single parents, struggling. The ones that are married are still struggling. And for the purposes of development, to go and change the zoning because they have the resources is really something that's very short-sighted for the city, and I think is really unconscionable to those residents, especially since they're paying taxes.
How do I feel about that? I feel hurt. It's painful because it was like basically a secret. Because I feel that maybe they should have told me about it because I am the mother. Is there a cure though for that? Is there a cure for that?
No.
I think the success is always kind of hard to measure. I think it was successful. I think there are a lot of properties that are cleaned up that wouldn't have been cleaned up, and provides a safe environment for people to have their kids, and they can play in the yard without worrying about their children having lead poisoning.
That's the whole casing of the battery.
Clearly, West Dallas was and has been, was for many decades a stepchild to the city, and it became part of the city, I believe, in the latter 50s, early 60s. And there was no curbs, no streets. It was just a very bad situation.
How did you react whenever you found out there was contaminated products in your yard?
Pissed.
Were you here when the EPA came and cleaned?
When they supposedly came?
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw white suits in the back, but I didn't hear.
I was telling them that they were cleaning this here and here, and I was getting them from here and throwing them in here. I was telling them, why don't you clean here?
A couple of months ago, we were out in the same area. Dog came over here, just started scratching the floor. Took out a big old piece about that big, right there.
I think in that regard, RSR with a lot of sites, when EPA comes in and samples yards, or when the state comes in, we have to be given permission to sample, and that's called an access agreement. And RSR was a site, as with many sites, that people may deny access. They don't want the government on their property. And if people denied access, we were unable to sample their property. And then there were people that we sampled their property, they gave us access, that we came back and said, your yard warrants soil cleanup. And those people, there was a handful of people that declined having their yards cleaned up. We actually, EPA went back a number of times, I don't know actually how many times, to say, are you sure? Do you want your yard sampled? And if people that we knew the yards were above 500, do you want it cleaned up? Each time we did it, we had some success recruiting more people. But I'm sure there's a handful of properties in West Dallas that weren't remediated, weren't cleaned up.
The EPA was wanting just to clean up the back here. The mom was saying, no, do my whole yard. Because we don't know if it's contaminated here, over there, or over here, because the majority of the battery chips were here, but you still found pieces in different places. And EPA says, now we're in charge. We're the ones that decide where it's going. She said, well, there's no reason for doing it halfway. She wanted it done properly. She said, you cleaned all this right here, and nobody lives here. You can't do mine.
They were chosen by the soil lead level in the property.
They had my parents had a little garden right here.
They had some big old tomatoes too. I
And they
remember
had
that's
some
when I came.
big tomatoes too, but
Didn't eat them.
What did y'all do to the garden? Did y'all just dig it up, or
yeah, we had to.
just let it?
We had to. Get destroyed.
I was talking to their mom when they had the garden there, and I told her, I mean, they were big tomatoes. And I just told her, I'm sorry, you can't do so anymore. So I told her these are chips. She said, yeah, they're rocks. Rocks, is nothing wrong with it. It's because you don't see it, or you don't see the danger that you can understand until later on. I told her, this has acid. She said, I know what acid is. I said, that's what that has.
You said you knew someone whose house was taken down because
Yeah, because they live maybe what, not even half a mile from there, from where you were living at.
Did they have any physical effects from it other than the house coming down?
I think they got asthma, and I think some of them got cancer.
That we as minority leaders, people of color, need to be working with the majority community that are enlightened, regardless of their age group, on how we can build a new Dallas on the southern end. And today, however, we're encouraged to see younger leadership coming in from the majority community that hopefully will change that paradigm as they age and get out of school and become mayors and city council people and governors and county judges that understand that they don't see it through that lens. People are just people, and we're all Americans.
I mean, there was like a whole bunch of chips everywhere. And at that time, we didn't have dogs. But now, they're like digging everywhere. You still find them. You'll find them on that whole side.
Well, at least they're more efficient than the EPA, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's what we should have been. We had a bunch of dogs to do that.
Saw white suits in the back. 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 That situation. Saw white suits. You don't see the danger. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. That situation. Saw white suits. You don't see the danger. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. That situation. Saw white suits. You don't see the danger. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. That situation. Saw white suits. You don't see the danger. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. Saw white suits in the back. That situation. Saw white suits. You don't see the danger.
Lead poisoning.